Welcome, everyone. Dr. Thor here. We're going to look inside the Rad 1000 Demononics machine. And we've got it opened up here. We're going to take a look inside of it. And here's what it looks like. There's a little interesting variation here that we should look at and to note. But in general, this is the same old Carl Wells, same design. The only thing that's different from this and his other chi generator, etc., is the fact that this has 3 dials on it and the other one didn't. It's the same design. You've got your lump of toxic orgonite here. And let's, of course, prove that further and put over this exactly. What kind of energy is this block putting out? Positive, negative, or neutral? Oh, gee, look at that. Look at that spin. Obviously highly toxic. Again, there doesn't seem to be anything in here in terms of coils, in terms of copper coils, stones, or stuff like that. There's a powderized demonic, probably spirit-infused toxic crap in here. There certainly aren't any stones or anything else. He has his same setup in here, I can guarantee it, that has a little rod that has the copper coil wrapped around it as his pseudo non-electromagnetic conducting, non-conducting crap, so to put it. So it's the same old story. And of course, the bigger this is, the more you pay for. And of course, that's what he claims makes his stuff. And it does. It's full of toxins. It really generates crap energy. And it's got the same kind of guts in it as well. This is the same kind of couple of capacitors. They got 4 capacitors. You got some resistors, little whatever that is, chip in there. It's all the same thing that it has. There's absolutely nothing new there. This is a heat sink. Anything that does. Yeah, it's got a typical little panel here that does nothing, basically. He's got power going to the light. He's got power going to the, here comes from the power here. And, of course, the on and off switch here, which can... So, I mean, your standard stuff. There's certainly nothing new, different, strange, or bad about that. That's all the same stuff. But certainly the electronics here is doing nothing. This is a pseudo amplifier, which, of course, again, is pretty pathetic and at very low levels. So we have to understand what really good amplification is. There's a real amplifier, people. A big tube amplifier. It's got antennas. It's got all sorts of things and lots of electronic guts in it for the process that it does, which is highly modified. What he's doing is just producing toxic crap here. And as he said, we're going to pry this. We're going to pry this out, and I'm going to cut this up to see if there's anything in there. But we can certainly know that the only thing in there is these little goofy things that are here. Now, what's interesting on this is it's got 3 dials here, which are potentiometers. This is how you adjust the flow of things. And on the top here, of course, we have the unit. Now, it's supposed to be like this, that you're tuning it with their actual HSCTI on the top here. So, and of course, you always dial from left to right. That's how things are done in the Western world. But what we've got here is very interesting, is that the plates, and of course, there is wires to the plates here. So that is at least correct. But it is, this wire should be raw wire, not coated, so you're not getting the same flow of energy. But this does go underneath the actual where the rubbing plate is. So at least that makes some logical sense to a degree. But the rubbing plate goes backwards here, which is very typical of Satanists, how they do everything backwards. So this is a backwards dialing machine. The main energy from the actually rubbing plate or some of the energy is going into the actual circuit here to then send it into the poison gunk. But what's interesting is that this is going to dial here, or the third dial. The third dial then connects to the second dial, and then this, and then it goes into here, meaning that this is totally backwards. It should be this way. The energy should be ending going into here, not the way they have it set up. So this is a typical, like all Satanists do, they do things backwards. So this is backwards dialing. You're dialing what is number 3 first. This is number 1, which is this dial right here. This is what you dial first, and then this and that. But the energy doesn't flow that way because this is supposed to be a cumulative energy going into the circuit. Well, if it's on dial 1, you're not getting the flow of energy through that. So what's happening here is that this energy is coming into here from that, and it's going to this first, where it should be the other way around. This should be going into dial 1, so you can dial it, and then the last dial here should be going into the circuit, but it's backwards. So not very surprising, more of your demonic reality that you get from Karl Hans Weldt, the big-time Satanist and alleged criminal, and God knows what else he was into. Those are the reality. Of course, as I said, we've seen this. This is the plate that goes in here into your standard little enclosure case. This is just something you buy right off the shelf. There's nothing special about this. Who claimed that he was making such great stuff. He just used off-the-shelf tech because he never really sold that much anyway. But this as a reverse dialing procedure when it should be the opposite. So the bottom line is that the plate here, and that does have a plate here, is feeding into this dial. It should be feeding into this dial so you get proper tuning. And then this wire should be over here feeding into which is feeding into the unit. This should be feeding into the unit as a finished dialing. So basically, you're doing it backwards here. So typical of this weasel and his company that still continues with his other weasel over there, who is... they're all connected to some very negative things, so I allege. So the whole idea is that that's the whole thing. This is just a pretty pathetic amplifying plate. You've got your normal dials here that do absolutely nothing, basically, in terms of how he's got them that are actually sending backwards energy in there. So this, of course, explains why this whole unit spins counterclockwise, but we should be expecting that from a Satanist who's been alleged to be so many horrific practices. But that's it. But this is your same old goop again, and this is supposed to do something of producing some sort of energy when there is no amplifying energy. So you can use lots of stuff, but the bottom line, to think that this does any miracle stuff, isn't it? It's just a con. The con is the fact that you think something's going on there when it's not. None of these machines have achieved anything, have done anything. It couldn't even keep him alive or his wife or many of his family members. None of that worked. Many people have been shown to get actually... have reported to me feeling terrible from the use of this. So there's nothing special here whatsoever. Let me just pry this. I guess I'm going to have to pull out the phallic symbol he put in there. From what I understand, that's a life size of his own father. So the whole idea is that that's the kind of stuff that you have. You have this here. It's the same concept. All his machines are the same. All he does is put more of his goop in there and give you more dials. There's nothing new. And, of course, he's never come out with any decent technology different. So it's all the same, like all these Satanists, they're one-shot wonders. They're one-hit wonders. The bottom line is that they don't really... have anything new after their original design. I mean, the first unit he came out with, he used a muffler part for, making it round. All of a sudden, that wasn't have any value, making this round muffler thing. And it was a big piece of crap. And that's the reality of it. But, when you have organized crime and other groups that fund you to get the word out there. I mean, that's what happened. But, they also use all these, these groups. It's hard to know specifically what he was doing, but all these groups are connected to, all these Satan groups are all connected to organized crime. They work with them, and they are funded by them. And the profits they make, and people think, oh, well, there's not enough money. There certainly is, and you've got to employ the criminals you work with. They have to make money somehow. So you're not going to be, as the head of a criminal organization, paying a bunch of people to sit around. They have to figure out how to make their own money. So here we go again with the goop here. This is identical to the one in the chi generator from what I can see. He's got the identical wires going in here, which means that he's going down to the same two, and you can see how it's spaced here. The same two things that are in the actual was in the other unit. So as I said, it's a one-hit wonder. It's all the same. The only thing you're getting here differently for quite a price increase is you're getting a bigger chunk of goop that costs probably $2 to make. And you're getting three cheapy, crappy dials with glued on numbers. About as cheap as you can. The box, of course, is just a standard off-the-shelf plastic box you get anywhere, as is all the other parts. There's nothing special about that. And, of course, that's what the whole monstrosity of this piece of junk is. But we will get back with this. I'm going to spend a little time. I've now found some of my saws, and I'm going to cut through this to see if there's anything in here. But I did this to the other one, and there really isn't. Whatever's powdered in here, they added in, or maybe it was black to begin with. I mean, how typical of Satan is using black. It could be anything from body ashes to all sorts of pollutions and problems that they put in here. All sorts of negative energy crap that is actually in here. Who knows what's in here? I can just feel it by holding it, how it's got a really bad energy to it. Yuck. So the whole idea is you've got a bunch of junk in there. And of course, let's do it again. We have this whole thing here. Of course, we know that this is made of the same material and it spins negative. The whole machine does. But this is really where the negativity apparently is coming from, which of course is his goop. And the point is, even if this was some sort of Orgone accumulator material, Orgone isn't accumulated that way. And why would you think you could transmit Orgone energy in this particular fashion anyway? It doesn't make sense. Orgone's very interesting and fascinating, as is Wilhelm Reich in his work. And it certainly is something that we need to look into, particularly with his cloud-busting technologies. But, past that, we just don't know. Or Wilhelm Reich was quite a character, an odd guy, and sexually obsessed. That's why he called his energy orgasm. But, that's what he was into. And the whole idea is, what does all that mean? There does seem to be some very interesting data on Wilhelm Reich that he was really able to make it rain in different areas. So if that's the case, this kind of technology should be investigated with billions of dollars. If we can control rainfall in certain areas, this would be a wonderful thing to be able to do because we're having major water problems, and there's always been very arid places of this planet that need lots of water. Yet, instead of doing that, we waste our time with other things. What's new? But that's because we have the kind of people that built this in charge of our government, evil Satanists looking to just profit. So, that's the reality of this piece of crap. And as I said, I will cut this up when I have a chance and then post it on Patreon. Of course, these are all exclusive for Patreon and All Access. These are all exclusive videos. These are not going on YouTube. If people want to see any of this stuff, they got to pay for it. So you people watching this stuff right now, well, this is all part of what your bonus of supporting this organization and paying your monthly fees are all about. You get all this great internal view. This is a $300 or $400 machine. So you certainly couldn't do this. And this is stuff that the organization had to buy. It had to come out of my pocket. So the whole idea is we do need to understand that as part of being supportive. And of course, all the people watching this, we thank you for your support. And hopefully this is very intriguing and interesting to all those radionic people out there that, what is this? And what is this stuff that was Orgonite that he came out with? But we certainly know that the energy test of this, and it's so typical of him, is that he's got his dials going backwards. Very satanic. Satanists do everything backwards. And of course, his mixture is full of toxic garbage. And of course, as we know, if it was so great, why did he die at a young age and his wife even younger? So it doesn't make much sense out there if you've got the miracle device out there that's supposedly so wonderful. So the whole idea is that everyone needs to understand that, and they need to understand what's going on, and it's critical not to support in any way these kind of people. And, people need to get up on their hind legs and start supporting radionic tech and talking down those people on their different websites and stuff that have been attacking radionic tech myself for many, many years with their radionic stuff, because they are in bed with evil Satanists, as the entire radionic industry is. And that includes every single person in it that I've investigated so far. There's only a few people that I am not sure of, but we have confirmed Mr. Computer Boy is hooked up with a bunch of bad people and builds real bad, cheap, crappy technology and rips people off. And then, of course, we have, there's not many people out there. Copen and other companies have went electronic. They have made their machines into garbage. They are basically been taken over by the criminal Germans, and that's exactly what happens there as well. It's all a bunch of junk the way it is. There's some Mexican guy who has stolen Copen's name and makes a bunch of garbage as well. We're going to show one of those machines here very soon too, and you can see the kind of crap technology that they're selling for $400 for garbage. And of course, everybody wants to put their own little feces-ridden orgonite, as they call it. And of course, this certainly is not the formula that Wells published. And you can guarantee whatever he put in publication of what orgonite was is a lie. You can just guarantee that. As simple as that. And we'll just see. It does kind of appear, I guess that it looks like this may be a bunch of powder in the toxic plastic resin, which is horrible stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is some sort of powder, and of course it's a black powder, and that's it. And you've got, as I said, the standard little rolls of copper wire on each side of the little crappy tube here, which is just basically cheap aluminum. So all of that is what's exactly going on here. These wires are very small as well. They're not carrying much energy because they're such tiny wires like they make now. This all shows that there's not much thinking here if they're trying to move a lot of energy. And of course, the backward dials is quite interesting and not surprising. I don't know if I have any more of this trash made by him, but it's all the same. So if you get a larger number of dials, machine here, so if you get more dials here, you're going to have the exact same setup. There really isn't anything different. He started copying my laser technologies. He claims they're lasers that he puts in a large circle there of this gunk, and that this creates such great stuff, except it didn't do anything for anybody. It's a con game pushed by criminals who are out there to distort, pervert, and push their evil agenda. And of course, that's exactly what it is. And that's exactly why I threw him out of my organization. We tried to cause so much trouble, tried to break up the organization, and was your typical scumbucket that he is, with his scumbucket family and his scumbucket ancestral background being of the lowest possible thing you can be, which is pretty much an Austrian, and their horrible history that they have been involved in, even up to this day. It goes on and on of this kind of crap that goes on, and you should be well aware of it. Hope you've enjoyed. More coming.